The crash space was burning. In the middle of a giant star field, Captain Rayan's small human fighter ship shook violently. Red warning lights flashed inside the cockpit. Sparks flew from broken panels. His hands gripped the controls, but the ship didn't listen anymore. "Come on," he whispered, teeth clenched. "Just hold together." Behind him, enemy ships flew closer, alien hunters with sharp black wings. They fired energy blasts. One hit the back of his ship and everything spun out of control. "Systems failing," said a robotic voice. "Prepare for emergency landing." Rayan didn't answer. He was too focused, too afraid. He looked at the planet below. Dark green. Clouds, lightning storms, and mountains that pierced the sky. "No choice," he said. "This is it." His ship hit the atmosphere. Flames danced across the glass. He braced himself. Then, everything went dark. When he opened his eyes, there was silence. Only the soft sound of wind and something dripping nearby. The cockpit window was cracked. Smoke filled the air. Outside, he saw thick jungle and broken metal. He had survived the crash. Slowly, painfully, Rayan pulled himself out. His body ached. His leg was bleeding. But he was alive. His helmet was still on. His oxygen levels were low. He tapped the side of the helmet, checking systems. Damaged, but working. He looked around. This was not a human world. The plants glowed faint blue. The trees were twisted and tall. Strange flying creatures watched him from above. "Not Earth," he muttered. "Not even close." Rayan grabbed his survival pack and limped away from the wreck. He couldn't stay. The crash would have sent a signal. Someone would come. Friend or enemy, he didn't know. He walked for what felt like hours. Every step was heavy. Every sound made him pause. He knew this place wasn't safe. Then, he heard it. Footsteps. Not one. Many. He turned and saw them. Tall warriors, skin like stone, eyes like fire. Alien soldiers holding spears and energy blades. They wore dark armor marked with symbols. Their faces were hard and angry. Rayan froze. The aliens circled him, speaking in their language. Harsh, sharp sounds. One of them scanned him. "Species. Unknown," the scanner said. "No match found." They couldn't tell he was human. His helmet hid his face, his voice changer hid his tone. He stayed quiet. One alien stepped forward, taller than the rest. A leader, maybe. His armor had silver marks. He looked at Rayan closely. "What are you?" he asked in broken English. Rayan didn't answer. The leader raised a weapon. "Enemy?" Rayan raised his hands slowly, showing he wasn't holding anything. He said one word. "Survivor." The aliens looked at each other. Then, without warning, they knocked him down. Pain shot through his ribs. His helmet hit the ground but didn't break. They tied his hands and dragged him. He was taken to a city of stone and metal, built into a mountain. Fire torches lit the path. Alien guards stood everywhere. Flying machines hovered above. They threw him into a cage. Iron bars, cold floor. His helmet was still on. Hours passed. He heard screams from other prisoners. He saw strange beasts locked nearby. Everything felt like a nightmare. A voice came from the next cell. "You're not from here," it said. Rayan turned. An old alien with deep scars sat in the shadows. His voice was calm but tired. "They call this place Kalthur," the old alien said. "War camp. Prisoners come here and don't leave." Rayan stayed quiet. The old alien smiled weakly. "You're hiding something. I can feel it." Rayan didn't reply. The old one leaned forward. "One day, you will remove that helmet. When you do, things will change." Rayan looked away. He knew he couldn't hide forever. But he also knew the truth. If they found out he was human, they wouldn't just kill him. They'd make a show of it. Humans were hated here. Feared. Stories said humans were demons. Monsters. From the stars. Rayan didn't know why. He only knew one thing. If he wanted to survive, the helmet stayed on. For now. The prisoner darkness came and went. Captain Rayan didn't know how long he'd been in the cage. The cold floor beneath him, the hard walls around him, the silence broken only by distant screams. He hadn't spoken a word since they locked him up. He didn't need to. His mind was racing. Outside his cell, alien guards walked past like machines. They never looked at him for long. To them, he was just another unknown creature. Not a threat. Not yet. But they didn't know who he really was, and Rayan wanted to keep it that way. The helmet was his shield. It hid his human face, his identity, his species. Because here, being human was a death sentence. A heavy sound echoed through the hall. Metal doors groaned open. Footsteps. Not just one. Many. A group of soldiers entered, armor gleaming, weapons sharp. They walked with purpose. Behind them came a tall alien female in white and red armor. Her eyes were cold like ice but sharp like a blade. She didn't speak, but the guard stood straighter when she passed. She stopped at Rayan's cage. He stood ready. "Remove your helmet," she said. Rayan didn't move. She tilted her head, studying him like a puzzle. "You understand me," she said. "Not a question. An order." Rayan said nothing. She turned to the guard. "Bring him." They dragged him from the cell and through a maze of halls. Rayan stayed calm, quiet. He watched everything, counted steps, memorized turns. A plan was already forming in his head. They entered a circular room. Glowing walls. Alien symbols written in gold and green. In the center, a floating table. On it, a small glowing cube. "Do you know what this is?" The female asked. Rayan looked at the cube. No response. "Memory stone," she said. "We use it to speak to the minds of others, show them truth or lies." She touched it. In a flash, the room changed. Rayan saw images in the air, cities burning, ships exploding, alien children screaming, all destroyed by humans. Or, that's what the memory showed. He knew better. These weren't memories. They were propaganda. A false story. Humans didn't start the war. They tried to stop it. But here, they were painted as monsters. The female turned to him. "Your kind did this," she said. "You should be proud." Rayan finally spoke, his voice deep, altered by the helmet's filter. "What if your history is broken?" he asked. "What if someone wanted you to hate us?" The female's eyes narrowed. "Interesting," she said. "You speak like a diplomat, but fight like a soldier." Suddenly alarms blared. Red lights flashed, a voice on the speaker. "Prisoner 137 has escaped. All guards to Sector 4. The female cursed. "Take him back to the cell, now." As they pulled Rayan away, he looked back at the memory stone. He had seen something strange in the corner of that image. A human, not attacking, saving an alien child. But the image had quickly faded. Someone was hiding something. Back in the cage, the old alien in the next cell chuckled. "You saw it, didn't you?" he asked. A crack in the story. Rayan sat down, tired, but alert. "Why are they lying?" Rayan asked. "Because fear controls better than truth," the old one replied. "And your kind, they fear most of all." "Why?" The old alien leaned closer. "Because we fought your people once and lost." Rayan stared. The old one continued. "A long time ago, a human came here. He didn't destroy us. He saved us. But the leaders didn't like that. They erased him from history." "What was his name?" The old one smiled. "I don't know. But they say he had your eyes." That night, Rayan removed a small chip from his boot. A hidden device. It glowed faintly. A signal. Not to call for help, but to listen. He was picking hub voices, alien commanders, troop movement, arena schedules. Then, one message caught his ear. "Tomorrow, the unknown prisoner fights in the arena." He wasn't surprised, but the next line made his blood run cold. "Match approved by High Command. Opponent, Commander Kale." Kale. The name wasn't familiar, but the old prisoner's reaction was. The old one's face had gone pale. "You can't fight him," he whispered. "Kyle is not a soldier. He is a storm." Rayan didn't blink. "Good. Maybe I'll survive long enough to find the truth." Outside the prison tower, the alien female watched the night sky. "Who are you?" she whispered, watching the stars. Inside, in his cell, Rayan stared at his reflection in the steel wall. The helmet stared back. "Just a ghost," he said to himself. But deep down, he knew the truth. Tomorrow, the mask would crack, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Aranatha sun rose like a burning eye over the alien city of Kalthur. Its orange light fell on stone towers, sharp walls, and dark flags flapping in the wind. Drums echoed across the sky, a sound that made the ground vibrate. Today, the arena would open, and blood would be spilled. Captain Rayan stood in silence, arms chained, head bowed. Guards walked beside him with rifles in hand. His helmet was still on. The mask still hid his face. But not for long. He could hear the noise in the distance, thousands of alien voices, cheering, chanting. "They want a show," said one of the guards. "They want a death," said another. Rayan didn't reply. He had already accepted it. They brought him into the warriors' hall, dark stone, old symbols on the walls, and weapons lined like trophies. In the center stood a large creature, in golden armor, muscles like iron, eyes cold like winter storms. Commander Kale. His name was whispered in fear. He had never lost a match. They said he once broke a steel beast with his bare hands. They said his scars told stories no one dared repeat. Kale turned slowly, staring at Rayan. "So," he said, voice like thunder, "you are the unknown." Rayan didn't move. Kale stepped closer. "You wear that mask like it holds the universe together. Tell me, what happens when it breaks?" Rayan said one word. "We'll find out." Kale laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. It was a challenge. The gates opened. Rayan was pushed forward into the light. Heat hit his face. Dust rose with each step. The arena was a circle of stone and sand. Thousands of aliens filled the stands. Banners waved, horns blew. Above, in a floating platform, the High Council watched from their crystal thrones. Beside them, the female commander stood, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the masked warrior. Rayan walked to the center, alone. A moment later, Kale entered from the other side. The crowd roared. Weapons were lowered from the sky, energy blades, spears, shock, whips. Both fighters chose their tools. Rayan picked a light spear. Kyle chose nothing. He didn't need a weapon. The bell rang. Kyle charged like a beast. Rayan dodged just in time, spun and struck with the spear. But Kyle blocked with his arm. Metal hit bone. Sparks flew. They clashed again. Fist to spear, foot to chest, blow after blow. The crowd screamed for blood. Rayan fought with precision, not rage. He used speed. He aimed for pressure points. But Kale's strength was unnatural. Even when he took a hit, he smiled. "You fight like one of us," Kale said during a clash, "but your heart did hide something." Rayan didn't answer. He couldn't. He was running out of strength. Kale struck hard. One punch to the ribs. Rayan flew across the sand. His helmet cracked, a small crack, but enough for Kale to see his eye. And something in that one human eye made him stop. Kale stepped back, confused. Rayan stood, breathing heavy, spear broken. The crack in the helmet grew wider. The council leaned forward. Whispers began to rise. Kyle walked slowly toward Rayan. "Who are you?" he asked, voice no longer mocking. Rayan said nothing. Kyle looked at the crowd, then back at him. And in a sudden move, Kyle reached forward and ripped the helmet off. It hit the ground. Silence. Pure silence. Rayan stood, face uncovered. "A human," the crowd gasped. Some stood. Some screamed. Guards moved. The High Council stood in rage. But Kale stared. His face was pale, his body frozen. "You," he whispered. "Your face. I've seen it before. Ryan didn't move. Kale stepped closer, his eyes wide. You look like him. Who? Ryan asked quietly. The human who saved my life, Kyle said. The one they said never existed. Blasters charged. Guards aimed at Rayan. The female commander shouted, Kill the human! Kale raised his arms. No! Too late. Energy bolts flew. But Rayan was fast. He rolled, grabbed his cracked helmet, and ran behind a fallen column. A battle began inside the arena. Soldiers jumped down. Kale turned against his own kind, fighting them off. In the chaos, Rayan escaped through a hidden tunnel below the sand, one he had noticed earlier. In the dark tunnels beneath the arena, Rayan ran, heart pounding. He had no plan, no map. But he had a face now, and the whole world had seen it. Commander Kelthy stars over Kalthur burned with quiet rage. Deep inside the city, the arena still echoed with the sounds of chaos. Fire crackled. Smoke rose into the night. The High Council screamed orders. Guards stormed through the streets like a wave of metal and hate. The unthinkable had happened. A human had stood among them, without a mask. Commander Kale stood alone at the edge of the arena ruins, his hands bloodied, his armor cracked. He had fought his own soldiers to protect the human. Why? Even he wasn't sure yet. But when he saw Rayan's face, something inside him had shifted. Something old. Something buried. A memory. A truth long denied. 20 years ago, Kale had nearly died in a forgotten war zone, surrounded by fire, trapped under rubble. His squad had been killed. He had lost consciousness. When he woke, he wasn't alone. A human was dragging him to safety. A human wearing no armor, no weapon, only a patch with a white symbol of peace. Kale never saw the man's face, but he remembered the voice. Kind, calm, full of pain and courage. You're not my enemy, the human had said. Not today. Now in that burning arena, Kale had seen the same eyes, not full of fear, full of choice. As smoke cleared, Kale turned and walked toward the hidden tunnels below the city. He knew where Rayan would go. Few did. But Kale had lived here long enough to know every shadow. Deep underground, the tunnels twisted like a maze, cold, wet, and full of strange roots glowing blue. Rayan moved fast, even wounded. Blood dripped from his side, but his mind stayed sharp. He had no helmet now, no mask. If they caught him again, they would kill him slowly. But his goal was not to escape. Not yet. He wanted answers. In the silence, he stopped beside a carved stone wall. Alien letters written long ago. He touched the symbols. His translator hummed softly. Peace is not given. It is remembered. Below the words, a figure was carved, a human, holding hands with an alien child. Rayan stared. They lied to everyone, he whispered. They buried history. Behind him, metal footsteps echoed. He turned, ready to fight, but it was Kale, alone. No weapon in hand, no soldiers behind. Rayan raised his broken spear anyway. You should have killed me, he said. Kale didn't move. They told us humans were monsters, demons of the stars. But I've seen the monster inside my own people now. Rayan stepped back, unsure. Kale slowly sat on a stone bench near the wall. You look like him, he said. The one who saved me. Maybe it was my father, Rayan guessed. Kale nodded. Maybe. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Kale spoke again. You don't understand the risk you took. By showing your face, you've become something bigger than yourself. A target? Rayan asked. A symbol, Kale replied. Above them, alarms kept blaring. Wanted posters already showed Rayan's face across the city. The High Council had ordered his death within the hour. But some citizens had seen something different. Some had paused. Some had asked questions. It had begun. Come with me, Kyle said suddenly. There's someone you need to meet. Another trap? Rayan asked. Kyle gave a tired smile. No, the only thing I want to trap now is the truth. They moved deeper into the tunnels. Soon they arrived at a hidden chamber, filled with old tech, ancient records, and glowing crystals. Inside were a few aliens in robes, quiet rebels, historians, truth keepers. When they saw Rayan, they bowed. "The human returns," one said. "Just as the prophecy said." Rayan frowned. "What prophecy?" The old alien showed him a hologram. A voice began to speak. "When the face beneath the mask is revealed, the blood of old enemies shall join and the war shall crack." Rayan stepped back. This wasn't just a fight. He was part of something ancient. Kale watched him. "They feared your kind because they couldn't control your spirit. Your father, maybe even your ancestors, tried to end this war long ago." "And now?" Rayan asked. Kale looked toward the ceiling, where the city rumbled above. "Now, the council will destroy everything to keep their lies alive." In that chamber, a plan began to form, a dangerous one. They would break into the citadel, the High Council's tower, not to fight, to broadcast the hidden truth to the entire galaxy. Video, voice proof, records buried for decades. If the galaxy saw the real story, it might turn on the council, but it would cost everything. Kale looked at Rayan. "If we do this," he said, "you may not leave alive." Rayan nodded. "Then I'll make sure it matters." At that same moment, in the high tower, the female commander stood before the council. "He escaped," she said bitterly. The elder in the center growled. Kale helped him. "Find them both, and end this before the spark becomes fire." But it was too late. The spark was already burning, and war was no longer a matter of armies, it was a matter of truth. The face of the past beneath. The sleeping city of Kalthur, deep in the ancient tunnels forgotten by time. Two enemies stood side by side, but they were not enemies anymore. Commander Kyle, the strongest warrior of the alien clans, and Captain Rayan, the unmasked human fugitive, were no longer fighting each other. They were fighting the lie. In the truth chamber, the room buzzed with light from old alien technology. Crystal archives, floating maps, broken satellites. The air smelled like dust and age. An elder stood before them, his body weak but his eyes sharp. "You look like him," the elder said to Rayan. "People keep saying that," Rayan replied, trying to hide his nerves. Kale stepped forward. "Tell us, who was he?" The elder touched a glowing console. A blue light floated up. A recording began, a human voice. "This is Captain Elias Vorin, envoy of Earth, offering peace to the High Council of Zathel." Rayan froze. "Elias Vorin," he whispered. "That's my father's name." Kyle turned to him. "You didn't know?" Rayan shook his head. "He died when I was 2. Or, that's what I was told." The elder nodded slowly. "He didn't die. He came here to stop a war before it began. He wore no armor. He brought no weapons. Only proof that your kind wanted peace." "So what happened?" Rayan asked, voice cold. The elder's face darkened. "He was betrayed." The recording continued. Captain Elias stood in a grand hall surrounded by alien leaders. "We are not invaders. We are explorers. We offer knowledge, trade, science, peace." Some of the alien leaders smiled, others whispered, and one wore a red and white uniform. Rayan recognized her, the female commander. She had been there even back then, and she had betrayed him. The elder stopped the playback. "After that day, your father vanished," he said. "They told us he was a spy, a fake. They erased him from records. They turned him into a ghost." Rayan felt a weight settle in his chest. All his life, he believed his father died in a supply ship accident. But the truth was darker. He died trying to unite two worlds. And now, it was his son standing in the same place. Kale looked at the wall. Behind them, etched in stone, was an ancient symbol. 2 hands, 1 human, 1 alien, reaching toward a single star. He believed in something bigger, Kyle said. Now you carry that fire. Rayan clenched his fist. Then we finish what he started. Outside the chamber, the air trembled. The council's soldiers were searching. Closer now. A scout drone buzzed past the tunnel mouth. Rayan and Kale didn't flinch. The Truth Keepers gave Rayan a small crystal drive, containing the full records, the original peace message, and visuals of his father. Proof that could shake the galaxy. If the people see this, one said, they will question everything. And if they don't? Rayan asked. Kale answered. Then we show them another way to remember. As they left the tunnels, Rayan looked once more at the face in the old recording. His father. Same eyes, same calm voice, same quiet strength. For a moment, Rayan wasn't a soldier. He was a son, standing in his father's shadow. They reached the edge of the city at nightfall. Drones patrolled the skies. Troops walked the streets in groups. Loudspeakers shouted his name. The human fugitive must be captured alive. He will be judged by fire. Rayan and Kale hid in the ruins of an old tower watching. We can't just walk into the citadel, Rayan said. Kale smiled faintly. No, but we can be carried in. Inside the tower was a broken military transport drone, used to carry weapons into council halls. Kale's idea was simple. Hide Rayan inside, upload the drive to the Citadel's broadcast core, and show the galaxy what really happened. But if they were caught, death would be the best outcome. Before the mission, they rested for a few hours. Rayan sat beside a broken wall, watching the stars. He wondered if Earth even knew what was happening out here. If anyone remembered Elias Voren, if anyone cared, Kale sat beside him. You still think you're alone, Kale said, aren't I? Kyle pointed to the stars. Not if we wake them up. Suddenly, the female commander's voice rang out again, not from a speaker, but from a drone floating above them. You cannot hide, Rayan. We know who you are now. You are your father's shadow. And shadows fade. The drone exploded, but the message had been delivered. She was coming, and she would bring everything she had. Rayan stood up, eyes focused. Then let her come. The past had returned, but this time, the face behind the mask wouldn't run. He would reveal the truth, or die trying. Betrayal and escape, the citadel of Kalthur stood like a giant claw reaching toward the stars. Its towers pierced the sky. Its walls held secrets older than most planets. And now, inside its heart, a storm was rising. Rayan crouched inside the transport drone, silent and focused. His hands clutched the crystal drive tightly, the one carrying the truth. His father's voice, the lost peace message, the face that the High Council tried to erase. Outside, Commander Kyle walked beside the drone as a disguised escort. His armor was marked with new council symbols, fake ranks, fake loyalty, but his mission was very real. Stay quiet, Kyle said through the earpiece. We're almost at the inner gates. Rayan nodded even though Kale couldn't see him. The plan was simple. Sneak in, reach the broadcast tower, upload the truth to the galactic network, and run. But simple didn't mean safe. Above them, the skies were filled with patrol drones. Alien, gunships circled. Soldiers lined the citadel walls. Orders were shouted every minute. The entire city had turned into a trap, and Rayan was walking into its center. In the council control room, the female commander watched everything through holoscreens. Her eyes narrowed. She felt something, a tremor in the order, a disturbance in the loyalty she had built for years. She leaned toward her aide. Double-check every soldier on escort duty, she said, especially Kale. The aide frowned. But he's a war hero, she smiled coldly. Exactly. As Kale passed through the outer gate, the guard saluted him. No questions. But as they reached the second checkpoint, something changed. A red light blinked. Stop the transport, the guard said. Kale's hand slowly went to his side weapon. Why? New orders, the guard said. Random scans for hidden data drives. Inside the drone, Ryan's heart raced. One scan, and it was over. Kyle moved fast. He punched the guard in the throat, grabbed the scanner, and hit the emergency override button on the drone. Ryan jumped out. Chaos exploded, sirens, blared. Energy blasts flew. Kale threw Ryan a sidearm and shouted, "Go! Second tower, eastern wing." Ryan sprinted through the open yard, dodging fire. Guards shouted and ran after him. Kyle blocked them, taking down 3 in seconds, but more were coming. Ryan reached the eastern wing, an old service door half covered in vines. He slammed it open. Inside were dark stairwells, dusty corridors, and old pipes. He ran, climbed, turned sharp corners. Gunfire echoed behind him. He reached a tall control chamber, glass walls overlooking the entire city. In the center, the broadcast console glowed. "This is it," he whispered. He shoved in the crystal drive. Hologram lit up. His father's face. A voice asked, "Confirm identity for full access." Ryan froze. "I'm not him." The system blinked. Voice match 76%, genetic match 88%, confirmed. "Welcome back, Captain Voren." Ryan swallowed hard, then hit upload outside. The High Council felt the tremor. Every screen in the city lit up. In homes, in streets, in warships, in other planets. The truth spread like a virus through the stars. They saw the old peace message. They saw Captain Elias Voren offering alliance, not war. They saw alien officials listening, and they saw one figure walking away before the betrayal, the female commander. Panic spread. Questions rose, and the empire of silence cracked. In the control chamber, Ryan backed away from the console. As explosions shook the building, the female commander stormed in with elite guards. "Traitor!" she screamed. Ryan aimed his weapon. "You lied to your people, to the galaxy." "I gave them unity," she shouted. Fear was the only way to keep them together. Ryan stepped closer. "You're afraid of what happens when they choose for themselves," she fired. He ducked. But before she could shoot again, Kale burst in. His armor burned, his eyes wild. He tackled 2 guards at once. "Go, Ryan," he shouted. "I'll hold them. Not without you," Ryan shouted back. Kale smiled, bleeding. "Don't let my past decide your future." Ryan ran through a broken wall into a high-speed rail tunnel. He jumped onto a moving platform. Seconds later, the control tower exploded behind him. He didn't know if Kale survived. He didn't know if the galaxy would believe the truth. But he knew one thing. The lie was broken, and once a lie breaks, it doesn't heal. Days passed. Then weeks. The city changed. Protests started. Alien soldiers questioned their orders. A rebellion was forming, not just against the council, but against the fear. Ryan stood far from the city now, watching a new signal rise into the sky. A flag. 2 hands, 1 human, 1 alien. No longer enemies. But peace was not certain. Not yet, because the council wasn't gone. They were hiding, and planning something worse. The hidden truth, the stars were quiet, but not peaceful. Above the planet Kalthur, the galactic network pulsed with the truth. A truth once buried, now seen by billions. Ryan's message had spread, across star systems, across enemy borders, and across hearts. The lie was broken. But the war wasn't over. Some wanted justice, some wanted revenge, and some, those in power, wanted silence. In the ruins of the old jungle temple, Ryan waited. The hidden rebellion was growing. Aliens who once hunted him now called him witness. They had seen the old message from his father, Captain Elias Voren, and knew now that the war was built on betrayal, not truth. But rebellion without leadership is a candle in a storm. They needed something more. He stared into the jungle fog. His body was tired, his mind heavier than ever. He hadn't seen Kyle since the explosion. Part of him still believed Kyle was alive. Part of him hoped not, because Kale's survival meant more war, A scout ran into the chamber. "They're coming," she said. "The Council's final fleet." Rayan stood. "How many?" "All of them." High above the clouds, black ships appeared like shadows made of fire. The High Council had unleashed their last weapon, the Silence Armada, a fleet of warships equipped with thought-suppressing tech. Wherever they passed, cities forgot. Voices stopped. Resistance crumbled. And now, they were coming for Rayan, not to kill him, but to erase him. "We can't fight that," said a rebel officer. "Not with sticks and hope." "Then we don't fight them head-on," Rayan replied. "We fight them where it hurts, memory." Rayan had one last card to play. Deep in the jungle temple was a hidden satellite core, a backup relay left behind by the first human explorers, long forgotten. His father had found it, and used it, and now Rayan would use it again, to trigger a galaxy-wide memory pulse, a final broadcast, not just of the message, but the feelings behind it, his father's voice, the child Kale once saved, the hands that reached across fire, a memory weapon, not to destroy minds but to awaken them. He climbed the ancient tower alone. Wind roared. The jungle burned below. In the distance, ships dropped sonic bombs. The final battle had begun. Inside the control room, the satellite core was still alive. Barely. Rayan inserted the crystal. The screen blinked. Human identity confirmed. The core powered up, shaking the tower. Outside, the enemy fleet saw the energy spike. The High Council panicked. "He's activating the human beacon," said one officer. "Shut it down." The female commander stepped forward. Her armor was darker, now her eyes colder. "Send everything," she said. "Erase him. Erase them all." On the tower, Rayan stood against the storm. He pressed the final key. A voice filled the skies. "This is Captain Elias Voren, speaking not to rulers but to children, to dreamers, to those who know that peace is a choice." The pulse spread like light. Millions stopped. Soldiers dropped weapons. Children stared at the sky. Even machines paused and remembered. In the fleet's command ship, the female commander tried to override the signal, tried to jam it, but the system rejected her, and then he appeared on her screen, wounded, but alive. Kael. His face was calm, his voice stronger than steel. "You lied to me, to all of us. But the truth, it remembers." He pressed a final command. The enemy fleet turned on itself. Kael had taken control of the war core. The Silence Armada was no longer silent. It sang with truth. Ships fell from the sky, not in flames but in surrender. Cities lit up with new banners. Unity, not empire. And in the jungle tower, Rayan collapsed beside the console, exhausted but alive. When he woke, a child stood beside him, an alien girl, holding his old cracked helmet. She smiled. "They said you were a ghost." "Maybe I was," Rayan said softly. "What are you now?" He thought for a moment, then stood. "Something new?" 1 month later, the great gathering was held, on neutral ground, aliens and humans together. No walls, no weapons. Rayan walked to the center. He placed his father's crystal in a glass vault, a memory that would never be erased again. The galaxy watched and listened. This time there was no mask, no hiding, no fear. Just a man, and his father's legacy. "They feared a monster," Rayan said. "But the real monster was forgetting who we were meant to be. Now we remember." As stars lit up the sky, the Council's ruins burned quietly in the distance, not in anger, but in warning, because the truth had returned, and this time, it would stay.